Well, 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 look at Winston-Salem, the little city that could. Niche.com just released their annual report of best places to buy a home in the entire United States. Winston-Salem moved up big time. It moved to number 24 in the entire United States. But more importantly, Winston-Salem actually was just ranked the best place in the state of North Carolina to buy a home. Yes, little Winston-Salem did that. It's funny because 5 years ago when I moved here, people wondered, why would you move to Winston-Salem? What's going on there? And to see it ranked as the number one place in the state to buy a home ahead of Raleigh, Charlotte, and all the others you probably heard of is really, really interesting to see. Not that I am a great visionary or anything like that, but still cool to see. There are so many great things about this city that I like, some things I don't like. Obviously, we've talked about those before as well. I thought it'd be fun to do kind of true-false statements about Winston-Salem. We're going to go through a pretty good-sized list here, and we're going to move through them pretty rapid fire. First one, with so many people moving to Winston-Salem, there is just no more green space. We hear this one quite a bit about development and things like that going on in the city. And I have to say, this one is false. Yes, there are some places that used to be a farm or vacant land that is being developed, of course. That comes with just about anywhere where the population is growing and more people are moving here than that are leaving, like some other places. Again, we're at that place where it's just not too much, right? It's just that slow, steady growth that we've talked about before, usually 1 to 3% per year. So not only is that growth very sustainable, but the city does an excellent job at prioritizing green space in their future developments. And that even extends down to a lot of the residential developments as well. Many of them are prioritizing green space or common area or just different features to have outdoor space in residential developments. But the city itself has always done a really good job at having a lot of green space. I mean, there are over 25 miles of greenways within the city right now. It manages and maintains 79 parks. And even the urban areas, downtown like Bailey Park or the quarry at Grant Park, do a really good job of giving it an open green feel, not to be overly developed. And future developments like Innovation Quarter 2, the exciting thing about this, not only all the residential, commercial, and retail space that's going to be there, but the big thing about Innovation Quarter 2 is that there's going to be over 50% of the land is still going to be open green space. So again, that's a great example of how the city prioritizes that. Next one, there is a fantastic art scene in the city of Winston-Salem that includes both visual and performing arts. This one is definitely true. They don't call it the City of Arts and Innovation for nothing. Places like performing arts, you have Haynes Theater. There's an amazing arts district in downtown, which is blocks of arts, museums, crafts, makers, things like that. There are great public murals throughout the city. There's like Sawtooth School of the Arts where you can go and learn about art. You have Sika, and just great examples of public art throughout the city. That's just to name a few. And the more you dig into that, the more you're going to really see that this one is definitely true. There is a tremendous art scene in Winston-Salem. All right, Winston-Salem is in the south, so you're never going to see snow. And this one is false. Now, believe it or not, Winston-Salem actually averages 5 inches of snowfall per year. Last year, we just got a very, very light dusting of flurries. I don't even think anything stuck. The year before that, I think we actually got no snow either. But believe it or not, it does average about 5 inches of snow per year throughout Winston-Salem. As a matter of fact, the year before I moved here in 2018, they had a tremendous snowstorm and it dumped over a foot of snow and really caused havoc. I hope the people had their milk and bread before that happened. But yes, that one's false. You do get snow here. You have 4 distinct seasons, which is one of the great appeals of being in Winston-Salem and just this part of the North Carolina in general. Next one, Winston-Salem is a high crime area. And this one, unfortunately, is true. Winston-Salem does have a higher crime rate per capita than the national average. Now, I do want to mention a few different things about this to give it a little bit of nuance, because if you go a little bit deeper, you get a better understanding of what's going on where and kind of what the city's doing about it. The good thing is the city is very open about these items, and they publish statistics every quarter. And when I'm recording this, the most recent quarter to date, we have overall crime is down tremendously over the last couple years, actually. Both violent crime and property crime is down year over year, and going back to 2022, all crime is down over 25%. And like most crime, it tends to be isolated in certain areas. This is a city, Winston-Salem is a city, so some areas are going to be better than other parts of the city, just like most cities are. To say that it's rampant or you don't feel safe is just not true, both from my experience, but also when people are surveyed on it, well over 85% of the people say they feel safe or very safe in Winston-Salem. If you want more resources on this, check out the city website that I mentioned before, where you can see those crime statistics that they update every quarter. You can go on a website like crimemapping.com, where you can plug in a street address and you can kind of see what's going on around that area for different time frames. And then the last one is Neighborhood Scout. If you go on there, there's a tab that says crime. It has shaded areas from light purple to dark purple, with light being less crime, dark purple being more crime. You can kind of get an idea of those areas. But overall, yes, while it's true Winston-Salem is higher than normal in crime per capita, it's good to see that things are heading in the right direction. Next one, Jeff Valentino is the #1 celebrity real estate agent in Winston-Salem and the only person to call if you're looking to buy or sell. This is obviously true. I mean, what else is there to say about that? Of course that one's true. If you need help, my contact number is on the screen right now. It's also in the description below. Moving on, Winston-Salem is in the south, so there are giant bugs and lizards everywhere. And thank goodness that this one is false. Thank goodness, because I do not like bugs. Lizards I could deal with, but I do not like bugs, especially the giant bugs that you see in so many parts of the south. Winston-Salem is far enough north in the south, which is trademarked. But seriously, being this far north, but still part of the south, we don't have a lot of the giant bugs and problems like you do if you just go an hour or two south of here. If there's a Goldilocks zone for bugs in the south, we are definitely in it, because yes, there are mosquitoes and things like that, things happen. But I tell you, when I go down to like even Charlotte, or if I head down to Myrtle Beach or into South Carolina and stuff like that, man, the bugs there are so much worse, bigger, and scarier. False. They're not everywhere in Winston-Salem, thank goodness. All right, next one. For a small city, Winston-Salem has a thriving independent food scene. Absolutely true. This is another area where Winston-Salem is just kind of like the little city that could for me. I love seeing this. But Winston-Salem has a great food and beverage scene if you're into that, whether it's, independent restaurants, craft breweries, and things like that. Those are all here, and it's very well represented. We have James Beard nominated chefs at multiple restaurants in the city. We have the top 50 pizza on a regular basis in the entire country, right here in Winston-Salem. We have one of the best bakeries in the entire Southeast, Bobby Boy Bakery. We have some great independent chefs here that do pop-ups, new concepts, private catering, and everything like that. If you're into food, this is a great place to be, and it's just continuing to get better. So again, true, which is very exciting as someone who enjoys food. All right, next, Winston-Salem has a big shopping mall, but it has seen better days. This one, unfortunately, is true as well. I'm going to mention this one specifically because if you're searching online, you're going to see Hanes Mall pop up a lot as shopping destination. I'll tell you, just like a lot of malls in the United States, Hanes Mall has seen better days. I'm sorry, Hanes Mall. They're doing some things to bring in new tenants and things like that, so work in progress. But again, Hanes Mall is not what it used to be, but there's still some great shopping in Winston-Salem. You have the Thruway Center, which was an older shopping center that's being completely revamped, so now it's very cool again with a ton of different shopping options in there. Ronaldo Village is another great option with different shops. And scattered throughout the city, there are a ton of different independent boutiques, shops, and things like that that you can go to for almost whatever you're looking for, from consignment shops all the way up to high-end boutiques for whatever you might want. The city is well represented in the shopping area, but it's just not central at Hanes Mall like it once was. All right, next. Winston-Salem is a small city, so there is nothing for fill in the blank. Kids, young families, retirees, college students to do. It's boring. This one is stamped with a big old false. This is one of the areas where Winston-Salem really shines. And what I've noticed that living here over the last 5 years, you do have to kind of dig and snoop around a little bit for some new and interesting things to do, but I'm constantly amazed on how much there is to do in a city of its size. Callidium's Children's Museum was just done. They just announced a new land and pavilion project that's going to be right downtown. City has a plan to do over $1 billion in development in downtown again for 2030 with a whole different plan of things to do for artists, makers, kids, adults. I mean, just a great plan for 2030 as the city continues to grow. You have some exciting, affordable family fun at a dash game or free at the Quarry at Grant Park. Splash pads and pools throughout the city. There are art classes, pickleball, events, get-togethers, whatever you're kind of into. If you just do a little bit of digging, fire up the Google machine, take a look around, and I think you're going to be surprised at all that Winston-Salem and the surrounding area has to offer. Definitely false on that one. Just might not be as in your face as you might think. All right, next, there are a variety of independent breweries and craft beverages right in town. This one is 100% true as well. Now, Winston-Salem has about a dozen different breweries throughout the city. And while beer is not my main thing, it's not my preferred drink, but they do a really good job. I do visit them once in a while, and they have just about something for everyone. From a modern take on a brewery and tap room to more rustic farmhouse stuff to a little hole-in-the-wall joint to something big and a little bit more commercial feeling. But the nice thing about all of these breweries is they almost all have really great activities, from cornhole tournaments to petting zoos to karaoke. I mean, just name it. They do a really good job at events and entertainment at them as well. And while I'm not a beer expert, there are some great choices for beer on these as well, and great for the hot summer that we're in right now. But there are also some great places to get a glass of wine in the city as well, from Little Pep to Caviste. And if you're into distilled spirits, you have Old Nick Williams just outside of town. In town, you have Sutler Spirits and Broad Branch Distillery right in downtown Winston-Salem. All right, next one. Winston-Salem is not a great travel hub. This one is true as well. If you're in Winston-Salem and you're going to have to travel out of town, if it's on a plane, you're going to have to fly out of somewhere else more than likely. The airport that is here is very, very small, focused on private aircraft. There's no real rail service that comes through here. There's talk of extending it to the area, but there's no real rail service right now. And the bus service that they have is pretty limited as well. But if you want to fly, you're going to probably have to go to Greensboro. It's just about a half hour away, maybe less, depending where in the city you are. And Greensboro Airport is so easy to get in and out of. It's become my preferred airport when flying out of the area versus, say, Charlotte, which is about an hour and 10 or hour and 20 minutes from the city. But, you know, it's a big, congested airport, and I find Greensboro Airport is much simpler. But yes, Winston-Salem is not a great travel hub. If you're thinking about buying or selling real estate anywhere in Winston-Salem or the surrounding area, I'd love to be a resource for you. You can reach out to me directly at jeff@govalentino.com. Thanks.